And we back like we never left. I'm Live Zone. I'm here with Mazzi. We're on the extra point. Yes, we're back into football news here today with you. Mazzi, let me know what we got going on.
So much football moves going on. We knew it was going to be a crazy offseason this year with the major head coaches being shuffled around and leaving their respective teams. And now we got players going all over the place, adding it into very dangerous teams, making good teams better, making bad teams relevant, shuffling everything up. You know, I love a little football talk. We got plenty of teams on here that went good and bad in these decisions. Think we're going to go through most of them and just grade them on a point of who they got, what their system's going to look like now. We're going to hop over and just go alphabetically, honestly. End of the day, let's hit up the Arizona Cardinals. Live Zone, they got added Justin Jones, Mac Wilson, Sean Murphy Bunting, you know, some good players on defense, adding a lot to the defense. Only one running back in DJ Dallas. What do you think this does for them, if anything, makes them relevant or anything at all?
I think that the Arizona Cardinals is having a D for a free agency grade right now. They're not doing the best in the free agency side of things, but it's looking like that they're heading into the draft with high promise. Looking at Marvin Jones Jr. So if we talk about the draft, I will give them a higher grade. But as of right now, with the trades and with the free agents that are signing for Arizona, I'm going to have to put them in the D column.
Yeah, nothing really doing it there. You know, some solid players, but no names that are standing out for me on there. I think Arizona needs a little bit of everything, not just defense when it comes to that team. So I don't know how much it's really going to do. I give them an average run of the mill. At least they're trying to do something, and they acquired about six new people so far already. Moving forward, we do have the Atlanta Falcons, who I believe made a great move in acquiring Kirk Cousins on a 4-year deal. They also went out and got Darnell Mooney and Charlie Warner. Some big names there. What do you think about the Atlanta Falcons move so far and what they've done?
Well, they already have Bijan, they already have Allinger, they already have Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Adding Kirk Cousins to this offense was already like, all right, well, Atlanta's making some moves, all right? They're looking to be a playoff team this year. But also adding the likes of Darnell Mooney onto the team gives you that second wide receiver, was a big thing in Chicago, never really lived up to the hype because of other receivers that were ahead of him. Darnell really never got the chance. So here in Atlanta, looks like he's going to get a bigger chance. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Atlanta in the playoffs. I'm going to give them a B for grade.
You know, I think Atlanta made a move to win them their division come next year. I think they easily walk all over the Panthers. Easily, the team that's going to be hard in their division is going to be the Saints. But adding Kirk Cousins and Darnell Mooney, you know, adding a wide receiver to an already great core of people. Interested to see how the new head coach and Kirk Cousins will match up. Kirk Cousins, you know, for me, has always been a 500 guy. He had his little bit of an off year. He got injured this year. So I expect Kirk Cousins to come back with a winning season this year. So yes, I do agree that he's going to make it to the playoffs with the Atlanta Falcons, inevitably getting knocked out by somebody because it is Kirk Cousins at the end of the day. So good move for Atlanta to get them going. I do give them a B plus rating on that. Go out there. They needed to get a quarterback. They've got a strong team. Just throwing a quarterback in there that knows how to throw the ball and make smart decisions is a great move. So, got to give them their props on making those moves right there. Moving forward, we have the Baltimore Ravens, who might have made the move that puts them as a Super Bowl favorite, acquiring Derrick Henry and also re-signing Nelson Aguilar. Not really a big Aguilar fan myself. He drops every big pass I've ever seen in crunch time of a game by one player. He's like a Mark Bellhorn of the Red Sox from way back that just always seemed to make a mistake in the most crucial time. Um, Derrick Henry with Lamar Jackson. What are you thinking about that in Baltimore?
I think it's going to be different. We haven't seen really a running back quarterback duo in Baltimore since they had Ray Rice there with Joe Flacco. So it's going to be definitely different. I hope that Derrick Henry can stay healthy because he's reaching that age limit on that running back side. But I like the move overall. Adding Nelson Aguilar back to the team, I think, was beneficial. It needed to happen because now you have Odell and Aguilar, and you have Likely, and you have Andrews, and you have Derrick Henry with Lamar Jackson in the backfield. I think overall their offense looks good. Now it's just a question of how does their defense look? What is their defense going to do this season? Is their defense going to be the part that gets them there, or is it going to be the part that goes down? So for me, like I said, I don't see them as a big Super Bowl contender yet because I'm scared of Derrick Henry and his injury proneness. But I will say that this is an A minus for me, being one of the best moves in the free agency so far.
I mean, they were one step away from beating Mahomes. I think maybe if they have a Henry like Mahomes had an Isaiah Pacheco that could really open up the game, it might have been a tale of a different story and would have been not all on Lamar. And they would have had one more option for the Chiefs to worry about that maybe would have put the edge over on the defense. I think it's a great move, whether it works or it doesn't, even if he's out there just as another person that they have to line up against in the case of a Debo Samuel, for the 49ers for a lot of the year. So I really do like the move. I'm going with this was the best move for me in the draft for a team that was already set up to add a caliber player of Derrick Henry. Yes, he's getting towards the end of his career, but it also is King Henry, King Derrick Henry. I mean, his good years are way better than most players' good years in their career. So his bad years, I expect to be about average for a running back in this league, based on his size and talent alone. Moving forward, we have the Buffalo Bills making 8 signings, losing a couple players as well, but making 8 signings. They added Mitch Trubisky. Interesting. Daquan Jones on the defense, AJ Espinosa, Nicholas Morrow, lots of defense on there. What are you thinking of the Buffalo moves? We know you love Buffalo.
I think that this was the worst of all the free agencies. I'm going to give this an F. Losing Jordan Poyer, losing Tre'Davious White, those are your two guys on the defensive side that you really held to on that defense. That was the reason why that defense was so good in recent years. So losing those two guys, I guess Mitch Trubisky is a positive because now you have a backup quarterback, but it's not really needed. But yeah, I'm gonna give an F to the
And
Buffalo
Gabe
Bills.
Davis. No Gabe Davis.
Yeah, they also lost Gabe Davis as well. Looks like they're tanking for some reason. I don't know if it's the end of the Buffalo era with Diggs and Josh Allen, and they're going to move on. I don't know what the plan is. Maybe they're just
Do you,
trying to save money because they see something big happening. But I have to give them an F for what they're doing so far.
do you see Josh Allen or Stephon Diggs being traded before the season starts at this point?
No, I don't see that happening. I do see them trying to go out and get Justin Jefferson though, because I feel like that's what every team is doing right now.
Okay, interesting. Yes, I believe Justin Jefferson's definitely on the board with Kirk Cousins leaving Minnesota. I don't think there's really anything there. They didn't pick anybody up. Moving forward, we got Carolina Panthers making a couple moves, mostly on defense. One wide receiver, the big name was Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh, but other than that, adding some guards, DTs, linebackers. Nothing jumping off the page. Nothing crazy except Deontay Johnson, but how you feeling about this one?
I think Carolina definitely took another step up, adding Deontay Johnson to the team with Adam Thielen, with Bryce Young, and adding offensive line to that awful offensive line that we saw last year. I think it's definitely needed. I think that they need to go out in the draft and get more linemen to help out Young, and so he can get the ball to the receivers like Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnson. I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be a lot better than they were last season, and we won't be talking about them winning one or two games. I think it's a step up for the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to have to give them a C minus.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my next questions was, I mean, 2 wins for this team last year. I expected honestly more out of the team that was there as a whole anyways. I don't know necessarily if their record spoke for how bad they were. They lost a couple of close games, but they weren't putting points on the board. Do you think they're going defense heavy on this? And I personally think that they need more getting sorted out on offense more. What do you think to come from this? Do you think Bryce Young adding another target is the solution? Do you think it is the protection around Bryce Young, or is it more than that?
I think it's more than that. I think they're in kind of the same situation as the New England Patriots, where, it's one step at a time. Right now, they're just trying to get as many pieces as they can for Bryce Young and building an offensive line. So they're trying to build around Bryce Young, which is the right move. Then after that, they're going to pick through their defense and they're going to pick apart their defense. I think it's a great move by the Carolina Panthers to try to give him an offensive line and another receiver target to go to, but it's one step at a time.
Yeah. One foot in front of the other. Definitely Carolina trying to make some moves. I see where the methods come into the madness. Don't know how much it's really going to shake it up. We got the next team we're looking at, the Chicago Bears, signing about 7 new people over there. DeAndre Swift, a very notable signage. Um, Little all over the place. Couple safeties, a cornerback, Jalen Johnson in there. I like the moves from Chicago. What are you thinking?
Well, I think that this proves that they are setting up for something, and this means that they are not going to be building around Justin Fields anymore. Justin Fields will be off the team on draft night because they will be picking Caleb Williams, adding DeAndre Swift, and giving him a tight end like Everett is definitely going to help him out in the long run. But Caleb Williams, he's one of those guys that can get the job done with not a lot of pieces there. So we shall see what happens. Good news is you still have the wide receiver core that you had, except for Darnell Mooney there. So it's a bright future for Chicago, and it's just a sad timing for Chicago as well because they're going to move on from such a high prospect in Justin Fields. I can't wait to see where he goes.
Yeah, can't forget about Gerald Everett. Great player on the Chargers last year. He made some great plays. I
Yeah.
forgot all about him actually. Can't forget him now. Adding those to the Chicago Bears, definitely agree with you. I don't think uh, Justin Fields will be there next year. I definitely think they're setting up for something, whether it's holding on to that first round pick and swapping it for a veteran quarterback or grabbing Caleb Williams off the board. I think either way, they're going to make something big happen. But it is Chicago. Nothing's really panned out for 40 years over there. So we will have to see on that one. I will give them a good B though on the rating for this draft. Think they set themselves up. Moving
Oh,
forward, we
I think I forgot to give him a grade. I'm going to give them a B as well. I like
all
what they're
right.
doing.
All right. Moving forward, we have Cincinnati Bengals re-signing T. Higgins, also adding Mike Gesicki from the New England Patriots. 1 year on that. What do you think this does for the Cincinnati Bengals?
Does
Also
absolutely
got
nothing.
Zach Moss from Buffalo as well.
Yeah, does absolutely nothing. So what has happened is what I thought and what you thought was going to happen. This is the end of the Cincinnati Bengals. They're trading T. Higgins because he wants out. They already traded Joe Mixon away. and now all they have is Jamar Chase and Gesicki and Joe Burrow now. And with no offensive line still to be found, it's not looking good. I get what they're doing. Every team is trying to make cap room for Justin Jefferson, but I just don't think it's going to happen. It's not going to work out in their favor, especially with the pieces that they have lost this season. But overall, I think it's a D minus. I'm not going to give them an F yet because they still have a little bit of potential in them because of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but it's not looking good in Cincinnati.
Absolutely. I'm gonna have to agree with you. I don't like the looks of Cincinnati. The two tight end signing, Drew Sample, Mike Gesicki. I like the tight end moves. It'll open it up a little bit. I don't like the swap for Joe Mixon for Zach Moss from Buffalo. I don't like the re-signing of a receiver that doesn't want to play for your team anymore. I do like the guard that they gained for 1 year. We'll see how it goes. But like you said, I don't think Cincinnati's going anywhere. We said it at the beginning of last year when they started 0-3 to start the year. Cincinnati's done for. I think they're dead in the water. They had their 1 year, their few years, or 2, 3 years of getting there and vying for the championship and just never made it happen. So we'll have to move forward from that. Looking at the Cleveland Browns next, we have some great signings. Jameis Winston for one, as well as Zadarius Smith for 2 years. Great pickup, as well as Jordan Hicks. You know, I personally love the pickups that the Cleveland Browns did. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give them a C plus on this one, adding an edge to their already stacked defense. Needed to happen. I mean, Myles Garrett is just getting older and older. Yes, he's in his prime right now, but he needs a little bit of help on that defensive line. Adding Smith to the mix of it, I do like what they did there, and adding Winston to the quarterback, discussion with Deshaun Watson. I mean, I like where it's going. Winston is very good and bad, so we shall see what happens. But with Jerry Judy, with Amari Cooper being added into that as well, it could be a good thing because now Winston has a lot of weapons.
I think it's going to be great. They got somebody that can sling it for sure. Uh, it's going to come with the downsides. It's going to come with the good and the bad when it's Jameis Winston. Think it's better than Joe Flacco, though. I do think it's better than Joe Flacco
Yeah.
at this point. So, with that being said, they were able to make it to the playoffs with what they had at quarterback. If Jameis Winston can put together a year, they might make round two, maybe even round three of the playoffs with the team that they have. Um, but again, we have a whole season. We have to see. Moving forward, we have the Dallas Cowboys only making one signing. Trent C. Nothing really to it. Nothing for me. Doesn't really do anything for the Cowboys in my eyes.
Well, in my eyes, the Cowboys definitely went a step down, losing Tony Pollard to the Tennessee Titans. Don't got any more running backs. Loses another option because Dak wanted more money. Just not liking it over there in Dallas right now. I hope they see something in the draft that we don't, but for right now, looks like they went a step down. So I'm going to give them a C minus as well.
Moving forward, we have the Denver Broncos. Giving up Russ, we all knew that was coming. They added a kicker, a couple safeties, a fullback, and a defensive tackle. I think they need a quarterback and some options on offense, to be honest, if I'm going to say anything about the Denver Broncos. Their defense seemed to be, besides the onslaught of Miami, their defense for the year wasn't truly that bad. But what are you looking at with these signings, with what they've been giving up, where they're going in a direction?
I'm on and off about it. I mean, obviously losing Russell Wilson is big, and that's awful for your team. Hopefully, you can get a quarterback in the draft, but losing $38 million a year is not a good thing for your team right now because you can't go out and sign the talent that's there. So I'm gonna give them a D on it. I mean, they're doing the best they can right now, but it's just not looking good.
Gonna have to agree, man. I mean, we have similar thought processes on these players and how good they are and what they could do for these teams. I don't really know what Denver's trying to do. I hope there's more to come in the upcoming weeks. I hope there's more to come in the draft, and I hope there's more to come in their rebuilding era, essentially, right now because they are dead in the water. They got Sean Payton over there with a bunch of people that nobody knows. So interesting to see what Denver's going to be. Could be a surprise, could be a fail, could be the greatest thing since sliced bread. What do you got to say?
The good news is that this draft class is loaded with quarterbacks that have a ton of potential.
Exactly.
So it could be a blessing in disguise. It could be a really bad thing to happen for the Denver Broncos. But yeah,
Could be a good move for them. Do you know where they're at in the draft?
I do not. I do not know what pick they have.
Broncos. 12th overall pick. You know, they might be able to get something good there.
Yeah, definitely, because I want to say that there's at least 15 good quarterbacks in this year's draft that, a lot of people are not looking at. You got
That are
Penix,
NFL ready.
you got Penix, you got Sanders, you got Bo Nix, you got Jaden McDaniels, you got JJ McCarthy,
McCarthy.
you got Caleb Williams if he falls,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's going to happen. You got so
Yeah.
many quarterbacks in this draft. You can't forget about Milton over in Tennessee. Drop back past 70
Yeah.
yards in the draft combine. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the draft. We shall see what happens because there's a few teams that need a quarterback, but I think that they'll be okay at the quarterback position.
Absolutely. I hope so. Moving forward, we got the Detroit Lions making 4 moves. Sorry, making 8 moves, double it up. Signing the kicker, 3 cornerbacks, a lot of defense going on here. 1 guard, couple linebackers and edge rushers. What do you make of the signings? Carlton Davis coming over, Michael Bagley. You know, looks pretty decent.
I'm liking everything about it. They're adding more defense. They're adding
Yeah,
more offensive line. They know that they got their players in their, ready positions at the quarterback position, at the running back position, wide receivers. They got the safety. They got the linebackers, and they're just adding cornerbacks. They're adding offensive and defensive linemen. I like where it's going. They even added a kicker, so they might be replacing their kicker, which I'm not, against because Bagley is one hell of a kicker, as we have seen in the last few years. So I'm liking where this is going for the Detroit Lions. And to be honest, a lot of people are talking about the Ravens and the Chiefs and all the AFC teams, but you guys still watch out for the Detroit Lions because they're coming and they're going to be coming stronger than they did last year. So. I'm gonna say it's a B plus for me because they're adding what they need to.
yeah, definitely strong moves from the Lions, adding to that defense. Obviously, knowing that their quarterback is their quarterback, their running backs and receivers are those guys, their tight end as well. That offense is really the bread and butter of that team that brings that energy, brings the tenacity that they need. If their defense could tighten it up a little bit, they would have won games more handedly and not been in shootouts. So I think it's exactly what the Detroit Lions needed, exactly what the doctor ordered. Great moves. Give them that B plus, okay? Moving forward, we have the Green Bay Packers making some moves, questionable moves at best, adding Josh Jacobs, losing Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. Uh, gaining a safety, couple cornerbacks, re-signing a tight end, live zone. What do you think of the running back moves that Green Bay is doing?
I mean, I don't know if I question a lot of the running back moves that are happening right now, but losing your number one and your number two running back for a running back that isn't as good as what everybody thinks he is. Yes, he's a good fantasy player, but when it comes down to the stretch and winning games, Josh Jacobs is not your guy. I'm questioning what they're doing over there in Green Bay. I'm sure the fans are too, because Aaron Jones is one of those guys that were loved by Green Bay fans. But I'm gonna give him a I'll give him a C minus right now because of the running back situation. But adding the cornerback, adding the tight end back to the team, re-signing him, gives Jordan Love another guy that he can pass to. So I mean, it's good and bad.
Absolutely. I think it's just bad for Green Bay. I don't think that's what you needed to do. Love was kind of really coming into his own with this team. I don't think it was time to shake it up like that. Now he doesn't know. You're putting Josh Jacobs back there, so it's kind of an already made star, and he should be able to do his job. But Love hasn't played with him. He doesn't know who's in the backfield with him yet. Um, I don't know how I feel about that. Those are two strong. That's a strong 1-2 combination for any team in this league. Um, Aaron Judge and then AJ Dillon. That's power and skill. That's running ability. That's break loose ability. That's making people miss. That's a lot of touchdowns leaving the team right there. So that might be tough to get back. 2 for 1 on that too. I don't like it. Moving forward, we got the Houston Texans making 12 moves. Lots of signing, mainly defense, only two offensive players, one special teams, the rest defensive signings. You know, adding Joe Mixon, adding Dalton Schultz, on the offensive side. What does this do for CJ Stroud? What does this do for the Texans defense? Adding 4 cornerbacks alone.
Well, if you heard it here first, I said that CJ Stroud had the best rookie year that we have ever seen from a quarterback in the draft, coming through with the top 3 pick. I'm going to say that he doubles that, and he has an amazing sophomore year, adding Dalton Schultz back to the team at the tight end position, adding Joe Mixon onto the running back, which is huge for the Houston Texans because Joe Mixon is not a shrug to look at. He is one of those guys that is a game changer for your team. And then on the defensive side, adding Desmond King, adding Jeff Okuda, great signings at the cornerback position for them as well. And then adding Eric Murray as a safety. I'm liking what I'm seeing in Houston. They're making a lot of deep, good moves for the team, and I think it's time that we look at Houston and say that they are ready to win a lot of games this season, and they could be the guys that take out the Kansas City Chiefs. So,
Interesting. A little
so
bit of
for
a
me,
hot take.
yeah, well, hey, it's hot take time. It is what it is. But yeah, so I'm gonna give them. I'm gonna give them the same thing that I gave the Baltimore Ravens. I'm gonna give them an A minus because just looking at the moves that they made, helping the offense, helping the defense, that was definitely needed on the defensive side. I gotta give it to them. So I'm gonna give them an A minus. They're going to be a team to look out for this season.
You know, it's bold. It's bold. I think they make the playoffs with their moves. I like their moves. It's a young team. It's a team with a lot of moving parts. I think they were all pretty new with each other last year. Adding all these new people again for another year. I don't know if it pans out 2 years in a row. I'm a little nervous. I know Stroud's going to go out and do his thing or at least put up some numbers. I don't know if it was beginner's luck in what he did. I'm hoping it's not because I love the way the kid carries himself and plays the game. But we will have to see. Most opponents didn't know what to expect from them last year. Now they're not going to take him as lightly. They know it's a tough game going into Houston. Now, that doesn't always pan out well for a second year quarterback, but we'll have to see. I'd love for somebody to knock off Mahomes because I'm sick of Kansas City. Moving forward, we got Indianapolis Colts signing Michael Pittman Jr., adding signing back Roberto Sanchez, their punter. Adding a couple players on defense, Grover Stewart, Zaire Franklin, Kenny Moore. What do you think this does for the Colts? Do you think they're gonna finally they can win their division outright this next year?
Well, it all really depends on what we're looking at in that division because we do have to remember that Tony Pollard did take Derrick Henry's job, so that's also a question there. So I mean, I think that they do getting rid of Gardner Minshew. You're going all in on Anthony Richardson. I'm liking it. I just worry about his injury proneness as well. But signing Michael Pittman Jr. back, adding to the defense, I can't complain with it. I'm going to give it an average C. But I definitely like the pickup of bringing Michael Pittman Jr. back to the Indianapolis Colts.
Who you have in that division if you had to pick one right now between CJ Stroud, Indianapolis, Tennessee?
I mean, I'm definitely going with CJ. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer. CJ's, like I just said, CJ's my guy. He's gonna have an amazing year, and I think he's gonna have a better year than his rookie year, especially having Joe Mixon over. So, I mean, for me, that's the guys to look out for right now.
Yeah, I think it makes the Colts relevant, a little more relevant, at least staying with the Houston Texans. I think the Titans are below both of those teams. End of the day, I think it's the Colts versus the Texans for their division. I'm excited to see Anthony Richardson back. If he stays healthy for a whole year, I think he's along the lines of a CJ Stroud almost. Could lead that team deep in the playoffs. We'll have to see. Moving forward, we do have the Jacksonville Jaguars acquiring Gabe Davis from the Buffalo Bills, as we mentioned earlier. Also, by the grace of God, they acquired Mac Jones from the New England Patriots. And I don't know, I guess they heard our prayers out here. Live Zone, they traded him for a sixth round pick. They were so ready to get rid of him. Uh, I love the trade by New England, by the way. Give me that all day. Get him out of here. I told you guys over the season I didn't even see Mac Jones being the starter in the league next year. Looks like he's going to be riding the bench behind Trevor Lawrence. I see no way that Trevor Lawrence plays behind Mac Jones. Um, Live Zone. What are we feeling about that? Also added Darnell Savage, a safety, on the back end to that team. I like that move. Strong defense, getting even stronger. Um, what are you thinking with these moves?
I mean, adding Mac Jones is a minus, right? But nah. In all seriousness, it really just depends on where Calvin Ridley ends up going. Right now, the two teams that he's thinking about signing with is the New England Patriots or the Jacksonville Jaguars. If he ends up in Jacksonville once again, him, Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, that is one hell of a wide receiver core. Adding Evan Ingram over to the tight end core. I mean, it's a scary team. It's a scary team to deal with in the AFC. I think that they are definitely bound for the playoffs too if they get Calvin Ridley back. If not, it's a step down. I think Gabe Davis is not better than Calvin Ridley whatsoever. I think Calvin Ridley is one hell of a talent. And if you lose him, you lose a lot to your team, especially with all the things that they did last year. I mean, we forget that, hush hush, they were the number one seed at one point. So just looking at the team, it all depends on what is going to happen with Calvin Ridley. But as of right now, I'm going to give him a B because Gabe Davis is another serviceable wide receiver to Calvin Ridley, but he's not as good as Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, decent moves over there for Jacksonville. It'll be interesting to see where it goes from there. Moving forward, we do have the Kansas City Chiefs making a big re-sign with Chris Jones coming back for some more ball over in Kansas City, making a few more signings. Drew Tranquil, Ladarius Sneed as well, the cornerback re-signing over there. Huge re-signings for Kansas City. I think those were big. Hey, don't change what isn't broke, right? I don't think they need much acquisition. I think they're the best team as long as they got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Isaiah Pacheco and that offense going. That defense shows up when it needs to. So, what do you think?
I think they need a wide receiver still. I think that they're looking in the draft, but I still think that they need a wide receiver to make this team legit. Another thing to mention is that L'Jarius Sneed is in trade talks with the New England Patriots right now. So that is another thing that could happen. Adding L'Jarius Sneed is a great thing until you lose him. But, Chris Jones, 5 years, 160 mil, was he worth it? That's up for debate. I think he's great. I don't think he's that great. I don't think, but I think that he is one of those guys that you need to sign back to your team. So I like it. I'm going to give them a B because, they didn't lose anything. They didn't gain anything yet. So until we see what happens with Snead and what happens in the draft, I'm going to give him a B.
Yeah, I think it was. I do disagree a little bit. I do think Chris Jones is that guy. I just don't think he's got 5 years left in the tank, to be honest. So I don't know about the deal. Ladarius Sneed. I think they need him back. He's a leader on that defense. If he goes in the trade talks, that'll be a big hit for Kansas City, I believe, on the defensive end. So again, we'll have to see, take a look at it. Moving forward, we have the Las Vegas Raiders making a few moves. Obviously, losing Josh Jacobs over to Green Bay. They did sign Gardner Minshew though, from Indianapolis. That's an interesting grab. A running back, Amir Abdullah, re-signed, and then they added a defensive lineman, Christian Wilkins, for 4 years, 110 million. What are you thinking about the Raiders' grabs this offseason so
I
far?
like the defensive grab. Having Wilkins next to Max Crosby, that's going to be a
Yeah.
defense that nobody wants to see. That defensive line is going to be absolutely insane together. But adding Minshew, I mean, that's a good move for right now, but because you have that young kid on the backup, he's learning still. But when it's his time, I think it's his team. Losing Josh Jacobs, I don't necessarily disagree with it. I kind of like the move because now you can, move on from all the injuries that Josh Jacobs has had, and you could, get a different running back like an AJ Dillon or somebody like that on your team that should have been a starter to begin with. So right now I'm liking the moves. Like I said, it's one step at a time. Same thing as the Carolina Panthers. So I'm gonna give them a C minus.
Absolutely. The Raiders doing what they can. Agreed. I think that defense is going to be kind of crazy. I don't like losing Josh Jacobs, though. I just don't. I don't know where they're going offensively. I feel like they're a defensive minded team right now, so they could squeak out some hard fought victories, but also you do need somebody on offense to be able to get you some kind of points. So we'll have to see how that pans out. We now look at the Los Angeles Chargers only making 3 moves on here, grabbing a running back, a tight end, and a safety. Will Disley, Gus Edwards, and Alahi Gilson. What do you think of this move by the Chargers? I mean, they didn't really lose anybody. They're acquiring a couple people, a couple big deals. What does it do for Herbert and the guys?
Well, Gus Edwards is definitely a good second running back to the kid that they're going to get in Michigan. That can be a serviceable replacement for Austin Eckler. Losing Austin Eckler definitely hurts, though. That is one of, if not top three running back in the league right now, and you just lost him to the Washington Commanders. So, I have to give them a D because, you do add Gus Edwards and you're looking to the future with Harborough and Herbert. But at the same time, you can't lose one of your best players like that. It just can't happen. So, for that reason, I'm going to give them a D.
Yeah. Moving forward, we have the Los Angeles Rams doing 5 people coming back. They got Demarcus Robinson, Darius Williams, Colby Parkinson, Kevin Dotson, and Jonah Jackson. Couple guards, one tight end, one wide receiver, and a cornerback. What does this do for Los Angeles? We know you were high on them last year. Their offense is out of this world, adding some strong protection to the offensive line as well as one defensive player. What does this do for them?
Well, Colby Parkinson is definitely a great pickup for the tight end position. Higbee on one side, Parkinson on the other. Parkinson's a great blocking tight end for the Los Angeles Rams. Adding Demarcus Robinson back to the team, definitely a huge third or fourth receiver for the team. They're locked. They're ready. They're going for a long run this season. Don't be surprised when the Rams go off because this is going to be a proving year for the Los Angeles Rams.
All right, moving forward, we got the Miami Dolphins making some moves here. Got about 7 players switching up. They grabbing Shaquille Barrett on the edge, great pickup. They got grabbing Jordan Poyer on the safety, Jordan Brooks on the linebacking edge. Lots of defense, all defense acquired for the Miami Dolphins, which I think is great for this team. Offensively heavy, ready to go, can put up points like nobody's business, putting up 70 points last year. The defense left something to the imagination, losing big games to Buffalo, losing big games to opponents that were strong on offense as well and could score with them. Exactly what Miami needed, exactly what the doctor ordered. In my case, live zone. How you feeling about this?
The Miami Dolphins look scary. All right. One guy that you didn't put on there is that they also added Jonnu Smith at the tight end position. So now your offense, you have Tua, Mostert, you have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Jonnu Smith. On the defensive side, you have to go look at Jalen Ramsey, Jordan Poyer, and Barrett. I'm not liking the chances for a lot of teams going against Miami next season. One of the best defensive cornerbacks of all time in my eyes, and adding one of the best safeties in the league right now, and then adding a tight end that is a running tight end, which we should put out there. That's where his game is. He can run the ball and he can get those short screen passes. I'm liking what Miami's running with. They're definitely going to be helping Tua, adding some pieces here and there in the draft with offensive linemen and maybe even some defensive linemen. I'm going to give them an A because of what they're doing. Have one of the best offenses, building one of the best defenses. Can't complain.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's their division to lose in the AFC East. Um, Buffalo selling the bag. New England's gonna take a year at least to be in contention again, I believe, and who knows about the Jets. Moving forward, we got the Minnesota Vikings. They do give up Kirk Cousins. They get Sam Darnold. They add Aaron Jones, Brandon Powell on the wide receiver. They add 4 on the offense and 4 on the defense. 2 edge rushers, Jonathan Greenyard, Andrew Van Ginkel. Decent. I'm liking it. The Aaron Jones signing, great, but where are we going with this offense? Where are we going with this defense? Are we getting rid of Justin Jefferson? So what does Aaron Jones have around him at this point? A washed up Sam Darnold for 1 year. What is that going to get us? A 7-10 record for the year? Great. Sounds like a plan. Live zone moving to you. What do you think of their moves?
I think they're in rebuilding mode. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
obvious. I think they know that they're going to lose Justin Jefferson, but they have some young talent there. They have Addison. They have some pieces like Aaron Jones. They have T.J. Hawkinson over there. That's another good pickup that they got. They
Yeah.
also have Joshua Dobbs with the Sam Darnold, with that little quarterback competition, kind of going to be like a Mac and Zappy thing. I like where it's going for the rebuild at the moment because they're trying to save it. But by the looks of it, if you lose Justin Jefferson, what are we really fighting for here? Like you said, 7-10, if that. But yeah, so as of right now, with Justin Jefferson on the team, I'm going to give them a B minus. But if they do lose them, I think it's a straight up C.
Interesting. Moving forward, we do have the New England Patriots making 11 moves so far. Getting Hunter Henry back for a few more years, Kyle Duggar, signing Jacoby Brissett, getting Kendrick Bourne back, Antonio Gibson as the running back, Jalir Rager, Okafor coming back as well. Lots of defense, lots of offense, lots of signings, lots of role playing players. I thoroughly enjoy the moves that they're making. I'm finally excited to watch a New England Patriots football game for the first time in probably 3 years since Mac Jones' first year. I was excited for about 6 weeks when Mac Jones got on the team, and then I sold the bag on him so hard, wrote him off, and have been waiting for this day, and I'm extremely happy about it. I wonder how you feel about it. Live Zone.
I'm liking everything about it right now. Like I said, with the Panthers, with Minnesota, these teams need to put one foot in front of the other, and that's exactly what the New England Patriots did. They got rid of pieces that they didn't need, like Jalen Mills and Devontae Parker, and unfortunately, Elliott has not come back. But adding Hunter Henry back to the squad was needed. Adding Adding Kyle Duggar back was needed. He's your future. Adding Antonio Gibson, great pickup. He can be a running back. He can be a wide receiver. He can be a special teams guy. He's a great running acceleration running back that they definitely have been missing. Adding Jacoby Brissett back to the team, I do not hate it. I've been saying this for years that he needed to come back. Obviously, it looks like the Patriots are going after a quarterback, so I don't mind having him as a backup quarterback because he knows around town, and he knows the playbook. Adding Kendrick Bourne back definitely needed once again, and adding Josh Uche back to the team, another thing that should have happened. Defense is looking great. Offense is looking good. Just need to tweak it a little bit. Maybe a few offensive linemen, maybe one more wide receiver like Calvin Ridley. Add in a quarterback in there like a J.J. McCarthy or Jaden Daniels. I don't hate it whatsoever. They're putting a step in the right direction, something that I didn't see Gerard Mayo doing. So I'm going to give them a C plus for what they're doing.
I gotta agree with you on that rating as well. Moving forward, we have the New Orleans Saints adding 3 people. Really important one, Tyrann Mathieu, safety. I love the pickup. 3 defensive players. We got Willie Gay Jr., Demario Davis as well. On the Saints defensive side, great pickups. I still have questions about their offense though as well, so I don't know how much this does for them. Live Zone, what are you thinking? Does this help the Saints?
No, it doesn't because you didn't do anything to beat the Buccaneers out for their spot in the division. Adding, Mike Evans and adding Baker Mayfield back to the team, that's definitely hurting you with not adding anybody to the team. Yes, picking up Tyrann Mathieu over to the New Orleans Saints again is a great pickup. But other than that, what do we have here? Not a lot, especially when you need help on that offense. So I'm gonna say that I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but it's not a good thing either. I'm gonna say C minus.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a little bit. I do like the defensive signings that they did. I think all in all, not really losing anything. They're kind of elevating from where they were. At least they ended with a winning season last year. They're just going to add to that with better defense. So the close games might become wins this next season. Curious to see if they make any more offensive moves. Maybe try and get a quarterback in there. I don't know. Let's see how it moves forward for the New England Saints. New Orleans Saints. My bad. Um, Moving forward, we got the New York Giants making 5 moves, getting Drew Lock on the team to go behind Daniel Jones or maybe have a little battle out for the QB1 position. Who knows? Adding a guard, offensive tackle, and a defensive end. All in all, not bad by the New York Giants. What are you thinking?
Quarterback position. I think that I don't know what's up with New York. They just like these quarterbacks that are not good that they can make good. Adding Drew Lock to the team, that's a perfect match for that team right now. Adding Brian Burns, one of the best defensive ends in the league, I think that's a big move. They definitely needed some more defense on their side. And adding Devin Singletary over to a team that just lost Saquon Barkley, another serviceable running back that can, maybe not do the same damage as Saquon, but can give you yards like Saquon did, especially in his last few years. So I'm going to say overall, we're going to give them a C minus as well because they did lose one of the best running backs in the league.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I don't understand why they got rid of Saquon. But I mean, I understand why they got rid of Saquon Barkley. But if you didn't have to, I wouldn't have done it. If you're trying to build something to win, I don't know necessarily if they're even trying to win at this point with the quarterbacks and the players that they choose over there. Moving forward to another New York team that always gives us mystery and great question is the New York Jets. And that is they added some defensive players. They re-signed or signed Greg Zerline, and added Tyrod Taylor in case Aaron Rodgers goes down with another Achilles injury. I guess that is the thinking here. What do we make of these moves by the New York Jets? Does it make them relevant at all?
No, not whatsoever. I have a hot take that the New York Jets will be the third team in the division this year.
Okay.
And I have the Buffalo Bills being at number 4. So you tell me who's 1 and 2. All
Wow.
right. So, but
Wow. That's a
looking
hot take. That's a hot take.
looking at the New York Jets right now, the best thing of their offseason so far is that they added a kicker. Whoop-de-doo. So for me, I think that this is a D for them. They could have went and they could have added pieces for Aaron Rodgers to throw to, or like a running back or something of that nature. Didn't do any of that. Didn't get more pieces to make them a contender. Not liking it in New York at all, especially for the New York Jets. And I think that they didn't do much. So.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I never know what's going on in New York. I'm a Boston boy. I don't want to know what's going on out there. They can crash and burn. Let them do it to themselves. Moving forward, we do have a few more teams that to get to. We have the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, they acquired Saquon Barkley, got Gardner Johnson, added mostly everybody is defensive except for Saquon. Added him matched up with Jalen Hurts. I'm kind of loving the move, if I gotta be honest. Wonder how it's gonna pan out though. The Eagles losing obviously Kelsey. That's a big leader on that team, and what they were lacking towards the end of the year, I think, was leadership and heart. Like, I don't know what was going on with the team in those last 6, 7 games. So, interesting move. I'm interested to see how it pans out, but I don't know if it was what we needed for that team live. So, what do you think?
Well, see, they made great moves, but they also lost a lot. Like they lost two big pieces of their team. They didn't just lose Kelsey; they also ended up losing
Swift.
Fletcher Cox.
Yeah.
He ended up retiring as well as Jason Kelsey. So there's two big blows. Adding, Saquon to a stacked offense. You got Jalen Hurts. You got Saquon Barkley. You got Devontae Smith. You got A.J. Brown. I mean, you got Goddard. The things go on, like the weapons go on and on and on for the Philadelphia Eagles. Can't forget that they also just traded for Devontae Parker. So, the offense is looking okay. How is that offensive line looking, though? I think that's what the draft is for. One man down, next man up, but it's going to be very, very big shoes to fill in Philadelphia offensive line.
Let's give a quick shout out to Fletcher Cox for a second. Hell of a
Yep.
fucking career.
Yep.
Okay. That man is a savage, and I believe will be in the Hall of Fame come one day.
I think
Um,
both of them will. Yep.
Yep, I think Kelsey's a lock at this point with the podcast and everything. But definitely Fletcher Cox better make his way in there. Moving forward, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who might have done the best move in the whole NFL draft. They went out and they got Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal. They got Patrick Queen as a linebacker to add to their already stacked defense. Um, Dante Jackson came from the Panthers to add another Wilson weapon for Wilson. You got Pickett's. You got a defense that can stop everybody. You got Mike Tomlin over there. You got a veteran quarterback coming in that wants to prove a whole league wrong. And I'm pretty sure they might even have Denver on the schedule next year. What do you think is in store for Pittsburgh, and how do you like the moves?
Well, as a New England fan, I'm not liking a lot of it, but they did make some moves. They made some moves to help them. They also made some moves to hurt them. Adding Queen and Russell Wilson, definitely big pickups there. Dante Jackson on the cornerback position, another great defensive player. But losing Patrick Peterson, that's a blow. That's a very big blow for this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, as well as losing Deontay Johnson and not getting a receiver back in return. I don't know how much I like it. I'm going to say that I'm going to give them a B minus because adding Russell Wilson, you finally have your quarterback that can maybe can teach the past quarterbacks on the team that are still on the team right now as your second and third string with Pickett and Rudolph. There's a lot to look forward to in Pittsburgh, but there's a lot to be worried about in Pittsburgh as well.
Pittsburgh does play the Denver Broncos this year, ironically, so watch out for that. That's going to be a great redemption game for good old Russell Wilson.
Why you think he
Moving
probably did
forward.
it?
Yeah, exactly. That's Moving forward, we have my second favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers, right down the street here in the Bay. Acquiring 5 players, 4 of them defensive, one of them, actually, all 5 are defensive. Not really losing anybody important, just adding to that defense. Nothing to complain about over here for San Fran's moved lives on. What are you thinking?
I think that the only notable name on this list for the San Francisco 49ers is Edge Leonard Floyd. I think that that's a great pickup for the defense. Other than that, I mean, they're just adding backups at this point, but, they're going to be just as dangerous as they were. But, at the end of the day, injuries are injuries, and San Francisco is filled with injuries. So
Keep them going.
I think it's going to be the same thing for the San Francisco 49ers with Deebo Samuel being Samuel Sr. or Deebo Samuel. Doesn't matter.
Do you think the Niners will win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years?
It's hard to say. That's hard to
Come
say,
on,
my friend.
hot take time. Will they win one or will they not? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no.
Ooh.
Sorry,
You
San
hear that? You
Francisco.
hear that, neighbors?
Sorry, San Francisco fans. Just looking at the teams that are built right now, you got the Ravens, still got the Chiefs there, got the Houston Texans coming up, you got the Philadelphia Eagles there. Wherever Justin Jefferson goes, he's going to make an impact. Not liking the chances for the San Francisco 49ers.
Moving forward, we have a couple teams left. We got the Seattle Seahawks with a notable signing of Noah Fant to a 2-year deal. Other than that, I mean, nothing really happening on the Seattle side of things. Didn't lose much, didn't gain much either. Maybe making some big moves coming up. Maybe not. What do you think of it?
What is there to say about the Seahawks right now? Lost their coach, lost most of their guys. They're going to get rid of Geno Smith eventually here. Not liking the chances.
All right, short and sweet on that one. Moving forward, we got 3 teams left. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers re-signing Baker Mayfield, re-signing Mike Evans, adding in Levante David, adding in a kicker in Chase McLaughlin. What do you like about the moves?
I like that they're making the right decision and keeping their core players. Like I said, just shows that they're just going to win this division again. Because if the Saints are doing nothing and if the Buccaneers are doing nothing, it's looking like to me it's a set deal for that division right there.
All right. We got two teams left. The Tennessee Titans are next on the list, acquiring Tony Pollard from the Dallas Cowboys, signing some defensive players as well, Kenneth Murray, Lloyd Christenberry, Morgan Cox. What do you make of the moves for Tennessee? Does it make them relevant just adding a running back but losing Derrick Henry at the same time?
You still got DeAndre Hopkins there, right? You just need a quarterback in the draft. Maybe a guy that falls to the second round, like a Penix or somebody like that, that can go and give you, a good run for your money. Adding Pollard to the team, probably the best serviceable running back that we have seen be replaced. Derrick Henry leaves at getting into that aging side. You bring in a young kid like Tony Pollard. I like what they did there. I'm gonna give them a C+ for that. But other than that, no notable names other than that. So
Nothing jumping off the page for me. I think they finish around the same record as last year, unless they get a crazy quarterback in the draft or make a trade for a crazy quarterback. Finally, we move to the Washington Commanders, making 11 moves themselves, mostly defensive players, but two notable offensive players is Marcus Mariota for a 1-year deal, as well as running back Austin Eckler. Honestly, some great moves on there. I like the defensive moves as well. They had a lot of questions on the defense last year. Their offense was able to keep them in a lot of games by putting up quick, fast points. So that's great that they're attacking the defense as well, adding a kicker as well. I know they struggled with kicking last year as well. Live Zone, what do you think about the Washington Commanders moves?
I think adding Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz to the team were best moves possible for the Commanders. With that young kid, Howell, at that quarterback position, he needs some options, and he got them this year. There is no excuses on his options now. It's all about the defense that you need to build, and that's exactly what they're doing with most of their moves being defensive players. Liking what they're doing. I'm going to give them a B- for what they're doing. Adding one of the best running backs in the league, got to be noted. So
We've run through every single team, all the notable trades, all the things that are happening. We love when the NFL is going on. That has been our NFL podcast for this week. Mozzie and Live Zone out here, always doing our due diligence, bringing you the facts as fast as we can. Live Zone, what do you got to say to the people?
just have fun. There's some big things coming with Live Zone Sports. And not even just that, we also have a few more sports podcasts up and coming. One of them being this week as well. So just we're growing. Stay with us and stay tuned.